Arrested. I'm announcing a historic action to rescue our nation's capital from crime, bloodshed, bedlam, and squalor, and worse. This is Liberation Day in D.C., and we're going to take our capital back.
God knows, but I don't say nothing. It was a sounds so very loud, but now I wanna turn it in.
We are live. Yes, we are. Welcome, everybody, to Real Deal Media's #1 late night show. I am Dean Ryan, who is with you here tonight for the episode entitled Interference in D.C. As you saw there, yes, some major interference in D.C. as D.C.'s under panic, has been, and I would just think if I lived in D.C., I'd be panicked every day, but that's just a way of life. We're going to be talking about the most up-to-date of events now underway in the nation's capital, as a slurry of violence seems to be trending across the little borough, whatever we want to call that. So we'll be getting into that. Also, some major things happening in the worlds of indictments. Yes, if you're not indicted, you may not be invited to the Guantanamo Tupperware party, and we'll see who's going to be on the guest list this year for that. That should be quite interesting. Major things and tariffs, a little update on that, and some huge international news overseas with China now making a call of just say no to genocide. We'll see if Israel picked up, and we'll see what they said to China, and quite interesting, those two. Two of the bipolar world order, as we learned long ago. And a weird story, as now there might be a new boogeyman that's in a different kind of desert. This time they wear sombreros and ponchos in Mexico, as certain cartels are being designated beyond criminals, just now terrorists, as we may go marching into Mexico and do the new kind of cha-cha-cha, if you know what I'm saying. And then we have some major health news with Bobby Kennedy, who's been so bold, so brass lately. We'll see that what we're going to learn of some new funding that has just gotten pulled over the weekend. You don't want to miss that. But also I will be addressing a very tough matter here tonight towards the end of this broadcast regarding former RDM castmate Matthew Short, who passed over the weekend. And I'm going to share some experiences. I'm going to shed some light on what took place and a real shame and some weird instances that just took place days ago in a message I received. I don't understand it, and there's still no word about the details of it all, but I think I'll put some things into perspective, and especially too, because there's people that just hate me and they don't know why, but they're told to, and this is going to make a lot of sense. So we're going to be getting into a little memorial of our fallen castmate and a very, very, very close friend of mine. So we'll be talking about that here tonight. Very tough matter, so you don't want to miss that. Anyways, we are broadcasting live on, yes, we are. Okay, we're broadcasting live on Facebook over there at TheRealDeanRyan, as well as Dean Ryan TV and Rumble. Don't you know it? Now let's get started with some headlines from around the world and in your neck of the woods, shall we? Real deal headlines, just the way you like it. Yes, you might have seen in the cold opener there about the shots being fired everywhere in a very violent town. This is a huge spectacle for those who don't live in the borough of D.C., but for those who do, well, it's just called a Sunday evening and a Monday night. Well, shots are now ringing out over there in Washington, D.C.'s Navy Yard, as you saw, less than 1 mile from the Capitol building. They're saying over 100 black teens have now taken over the park, terrorizing the neighborhood. The FBI and the Department of Homeland Insecurities are now responding, quote, to take over D.C. Trump. Really? Well, let's get more into it, as that's just the teaser before the main course. Now, as we go into our main feature story here of there's now interference in D.C. as we speak. Quite thrilling for those who may not know, and panicking for those who do. Well, the U.S. military is now preparing to, quote, deploy the National Guard in D.C., which every time I've seen the National Guard in these instances, they just kind of stand there, if you recall. Kind of like the Queen's Guardsmen by Buckingham Palace. It's quite interesting, the variation and the contrast between the two. Well, now the United States military is preparing to activate the National Guard troops in Washington, D.C. over there, as Trump's crackdown on the street crime in the city, as now a Defense Department official has now said on Monday, who's, you bet, certainly familiar with the matter. Well, Trump has not approved any official deployment orders as of now, early Monday, but that's possibly going to change any moment now if it hasn't already. People and experts alike are they're expecting him to announce news on this matter regarding of what he's going to do. Well, you're just happy to be in luck. We have that news as the press conference has been underway. Here it is.
I'm announcing a historic action to rescue our nation's capital from crime, bloodshed, bedlam, and squalor, and worse. This is Liberation Day in D.C., and we're going to take our capital back. We're taking it back under the authorities vested in me as the President of the United States. I'm officially invoking Section 740 of the District of Columbia Home Rule Act. You know what that is? And placing the D.C. Metropolitan Police Department under direct federal control, and you'll be meeting the people that will be directly involved with that. Very good people, but they're tough. And they know what's happening, and they've done it before. In addition, I'm deploying the National Guard to help reestablish law, order, and public safety in Washington, D.C., and they're going to be allowed to do their job properly. And we're going to have the same thing here. But then I'm going to look at New York in a little while. Let's do this. Let's do this together. Let's see. It's going to go pretty quickly. And if we need to, we're going to do the same thing in Chicago, which is a disaster. We have a mayor there who's totally incompetent. He's an incompetent man. And We have an incompetent governor there. Pritzker's an incompetent. His family threw him out of the business, and he ran for governor. And now I understand he wants to be president. But I noticed he lost a little weight, so maybe he has a chance. You know, you never know what happens. But Pritzker's a gross.
Well, in addition to that, here is something he said, Trump that is, Washington, D.C. will be liberated, not obliterated, as I originally thought, today, saying crime, savagery, filth, and scum, which describes a lot of the public restrooms and libraries, will disappear. And he also continued by saying, I will make our capital great again. The days of ruthlessly killing and hurting innocent people are over. Quickly fixed. Border, zero illegals in the last 3 months. DC is next. Thank you for your attention on this matter. Oh, but wait, there's more. There's definitely more. Don't say it ain't so. As he writes a lot of run-on sentences. I mean, hasn't anyone told him? Anyways, continuing. Well, also in addition to this, we're now learning too that there's now a plan to temporarily reassign 120 FBI agents in Washington to do, yes, nighttime patrol duties. So if you're one of those 120 unlucky ones, you get to be the mall cop for the evening. As in addition to that, there's a lot of additions as now the troop activation over there in Washington comes now in the summer of nearly 5,000 National Guard troops who were just over there in Los Angeles, as we portrayed and showcased to you of those so-called riots where when you showed up just to see what it was all about, you got shot with a rubber bullet. That's the warm welcome and greetings they do. So there you have it. So yeah, we've seen a lot of deployments, a lot of these instances over the course of this summer. Now that I think about it, yet no major violence, I guess, until today. Well, that's going to bring us now to real deal politics, the way you need it and the way I want it to. Okay, let's get to it now as we're now anticipating major troop rollouts. And by the way, did you hear that too? Did you guys catch that? We have troops on their way to Chicago, on their way to L.A., and I believe New York, right? In New York, obviously, New York City, and even potentially, don't hold me to it, San Francisco, which if you do get deployed there, you got to watch where you step now. But here's some breaking news. I can share it with you. It's now underway that we mentioned it earlier about the indictments that could, may be coming. I mean, we've been hearing about this thing. It feels like since I was in elementary school at this point. Well, J.D. Vance seems to be talking about it. He wants to be about it, him and his smoky eyes. Let's see what J.D. has to say as now the indictments are now underway. Let's get to it.
I absolutely want to see indictments, Maria. Look, of course, you got to have the law follow the facts here. You don't just indict people to indict people. You indict people because they broke the law. But if you look at what Tulsi and Kash Patel have revealed in the last couple of weeks, I don't know how anybody can look at that and say that there wasn't aggressive violations of the law. What they basically did is they defrauded the American people in order to take Hillary Clinton's presidential campaign talking points and turn them into intelligence by defrauding the American people, defrauding the intelligence agencies, lying about what the intel said. They would take something that supported a Hillary Clinton campaign talking point and they would overemphasize it and exaggerate it. They took anything that actually contradicted that narrative and they buried it deep. And through that, they actually laundered Hillary Clinton's presidential campaign talking points through the American intelligence services. That's a violation of the people's trust. That's a violation of what our intelligence services should be doing. And I absolutely think they broke the law. And you're going to see a lot of people get indicted for that. Here's the thing that should really bother the American people. What do you want our intelligence community to be doing? I want them to be catching bad guys. I want them to be making sure that terrorists aren't going to kill innocent American civilians. I don't want them laundering Hillary Clinton's campaign talking points into the American media and giving them this air of legitimacy. It is sick and it's disgusting.
That was good. Thank you, J.D. Vance. That's the new thing right now. It's the new wave, two hands in a row. So there's J.D. Vance with the potential indictment party just around the corner. Thank you very much, J.D. Vance. And how about those eyelashes, too? Those were something else, right? Yes, I thought so, too. Okay, here's another one here as we now continue and forge ahead. Well, now Trump is authorizing now military action against terrorist-designated drug cartels. Well, isn't that great? I mean, I'm for it. If this gets rid of the fentanyl and we make certain things better, I mean, we have to applaud the effort and try to bring the 80s back, don't we? Well, here is, yes, Trump is now authorizing the military to do so. I had a premonition of this 5 years ago now. Here's some of the tidbits of what that's going to entail now, as President Trump has certainly signed a classified order authorizing the United States military to conduct direct operations, including the use of force on foreign soil against Latin American drug cartels. Well, several cartels, including the Mexico cartel de Sinaloa and El Salvador's MS-13, as well as Venezuela's cartel de Las Solas and Tren de Araguas, yes, have been labeled especially designated global terrorists of the region. Well, now the Venezuelan president, Nicolas Maduro, who is now worth $50 million, if you can touch base with him, well, is now identified as the leader of the cartel de Solas, responsible for drug trafficking into the United States and is central to recent U.S. efforts against narco-terrorism. There's one of those new words for the Websters. Well, the United States Department of State and Department, I should say, is of Justice or Injustice, depending who you ask, has now increased the reward of information leading to Maduro's arrest or conviction to a whopping $50 million under the Narcotics Rewards Program. And you better cash that out right away. The dollar is being defaced as we speak so fast. And finally, the New York Times did report just recently that it did not specify which countries might be targeted or how U.S. operations will handle resistance from local forces in cartel-controlled regions. So there you have that. That should be exciting as a blockbuster is around the corner. Where's Sean Penn when you need him? Continuing now is, we have this now. Trump's tariffs axe the $12 billion from the auto giant's industry as it braces for fragmented future. Well, just when you thought you were going to buy a car just around the corner, well, maybe not so fast now as this is now underway as the auto giants of, what would that be these days? Ford, Hyundai? I don't think so. Well, here's what it's all about as the global automakers have now faced $12 billion in tariff-driven losses with Toyota, Volkswagen, and others hit very hard. Yeah. And that's said about Toyota, but Volkswagen, I mean, all their parts are foreign. You know what that costs just to go to the shop, just to get a checkup? Well, now Trump's 25% car tariffs imposed all the way back as far as April, if you recall, forced companies to raise prices or shift production to U.S. plants, meaning do it or else. Now, automobile companies like Mercedes, Audi, Honda accelerate the production over there in North America, and just both of our countries, I guess, to reduce costs amid the trade friction. I'd say so, as now the higher vehicle prices and potential shortages loom as companies grapple with the supply chain retooling. And finally, the EU-Japan tariff talks contrast with stalled U.S.-China trade ties, deepening the global auto industry fragmentation. Isn't that something? Well, just music to my ears now, continuing here as we now go into this. Well, here it is. Now, Trump has now vowed to issue executive orders to stop debanking of conservatives. Well, this is an issue, and I've been debanked at least 3 times that I'm aware of, possibly 4. And I'm not sure I classify as a conservative or just one pissed off American who just can't get his way anymore. So that should cover everything. But let's find out a bit more about this really annoying nuisance in society. Well, the debanking, as you know, has been a thing, feels like over a decade now. Well, now there's going to be executive action to stop it. Well, in a recent interview, Trump claimed that J.P. Morgan Chase forced him to move hundreds of millions of dollars and that the Bank of America later rejected a $1 billion deposit, citing politically motivated debanking. Yes, yes, it is. Well, Trump also announced plans to sign an executive order targeting banks that engage in alleged ideological discrimination, particularly against conservatives, crypto firms, and religious groups. Now, the order would direct federal regulators to investigate violations of the Equal Credit Opportunity Act, antitrust laws, consumer protection statutes, you name it. And it comes after a reflection of broader concerns amongst conservatives about banks. How about PayPal out there, who's experienced some difficulties with that? Stripe, we know my engagements with them. Now, it's worth noting that JP Morgan Chase and Bank of America deny engaging in such politically motivated shenanigans, and but express support for Trump's push for clearer and updated financial regulations. Well, I feel so much better that we're on the same page as JP Morgan Chase. And finally, well, here's a new cat fight. Look at this one here. We have Marjorie Greene Taylor now is coming after Laura Loomer. You see hiding in the corner there. She's now Laura Loomer, who is, by the way, I've called her a potential Mossad junior varsity. I don't think she's smart enough to be there, but you know what I mean. But here's what's happening now. She's saying Laura Loomer viciously attacks and lies about those who are President Trump's most loyal original MAGA supporters. She has no long-time relationships because she psychoactively turns on everyone. Loomer is the most unstable person and worst liability to ever walk in the office. Geez, well, tell us how you really feel, because I'm loving it. Well, that brings us now to World War III. Let's get to it, shall we? World War III. Here it is now, as there is now a Putin-Zelensky meeting, as this is really heating up, and we thought it was going to go nuclear, but I must have said that at least a dozen times in the past year alone. Well, this time I mean it, as now over there in the Ukraine, things seem to be taking a turn for not the worst this time, but somewhere in the middle of that. Well, now the world is holding its breath once again, as we have really mastered the practice of that, as Trump is now preparing to meet Russian Presidente Vladimir Putin over there in Alaska. Potentially an Alaskan cruise this time of year. Yes, it would be beautiful, with the hopes of pinned on a breakthrough in the Ukraine conflict, the Ukraine one, that is. Well, J.D. Vance and his eyelashes are also going to be making its presence on the trip, and we will be waiting in just fury and excitement now. What are some key points to take away now, as J.D. Vance is now proposing a peace deal based on the current front lines between Russia and Ukraine. Well, now also, there's now plans to bring Vladimir Putin and Volodymyr Zelensky and that damn mosquito that's been eating me for days together for direct talks. Now, Washington is signaling an end to direct funding for the Ukraine. I've heard that before. I don't know where Mike Johnson, the father of the year, stands on that, but I'm sure it's somewhere under a desk. Now, Zelensky insists that Ukraine's territorial integrity, well, is at cost now, as they're going to be rejecting any land swaps for potential future negotiations. Also, Russia, in closing, maintains it seeks a stable, permanent peace, but remains skeptical, as Bill Gates, I hope, rots in hell for all these mosquitoes he just put on all of us this summer. And that's how that one ends there. Yes, did you know Bill Gates was a part of that story? It's just amazing surprises at every corner, no matter where you turn here. Okay, we're going to get to some other things here, as we have a long way to go, but I'm going to make sure I leave a lot of time to express our major memorial here towards the second half here tonight. So we're going to take this quick break and gear up for our internationals and go right into our memorial following this break here. You don't want to miss this, as you're watching World at War, the #1 late night shadow band show in the world. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back after this quick message.
Goodbye.
There is the Tsunami Sale. Yes, it is underway. Isn't that beautiful? I think so too, with Jim Kahuna and Little Kahuna too. Yes, you can get all the new products over there at the Real Deal Media store, which is really just on realdealmedia.tv. That's as simple as we can make it. And you too can be wearing these fly shorts like the true legend over there, Jim, which I do have a big announcement regarding Jim and some other things and details probably tomorrow or sometime later this week. Welcome back, everybody, to World at War. I'm still Dean Ryan, who's surfing with you to midnight and beyond here tonight, as it has been quite the interference in D.C., but there's a lot of interference in life, and I think you'll learn a bit more about that here coming up as we're going to get to a memorial soon, but we have a bit more to go here, as tonight is brought to you by the Real Deal Goes over there. Thank you to everyone. You know who you are. I don't want to name names because I'm too distinguished, but thank you very much as you have kept these broadcasts alive. All you got to do is go to givesendgo.com/RealDealGo. It's just a wonderful ordeal. Thank you very much. And thank you to the Night Owls and everyone who has become a member. Yes, you have been the iconics, not the ironics. And all you got to do is just go to realdealmedia.tv and become a Night Owl tonight. Okay, there you have it. All right, we have one more segment here, just about, and this is going to bring us to some Real Deal International as we get on the Concorde. Let's get cruising, shall we? Real Deal International. Let's talk about it here as I'm sweating profusely like a melting candle. Well, something else is now sweating too. It's the country of Israel, as they've now done the unthinkable, that it's now becoming thinkable on a weekly basis. Well, here's what I'm talking about here. As now, this is now underway, as now Israel kills 5 Al Jazeera journalists in targeted strike to silence Gaza coverage. Well, you may or may not know there's no journalists allowed in Gaza. And Al Jazeera is a pretty big deal. And I should know, I get a copyright complaint from them on the weekly. But that aside, I mean, imagine if this was NBC or somebody of that ilk. It would be quite the foul play across the board. But let me tell you a bit more here, as now, this is what we know now as the IDF, the very moral and wholesome IDF, has now killed 5 Al Jazeera journalists, including Mohammed Quirig and Anas al-Sharif, in a targeted strike on their press tent near Gaza's al-Sharif hospital. Now, Israeli has basically accused al-Sharif of being a Hamas operative, while Al Jazeera condemned the attack as an effort to silence coverage of Gaza's occupation. And that's just the thing to do. You know, I had a fender bender the other day, and I said, I'm sorry, I thought you were just Hamas. I was just trying to stop you from a terrorist attack. You understand, right? Thank you. It's the thing to do. You know, you could use, Al-Qaeda, whoever you want to use. Now, the journalists were clearly marked as press. I don't know how clearly you can make it, or much more. Wearing vests and carrying cameras while they were struck in the act of the Committee to Protect Journalists, called part of Israel's long-standing pattern of killing reporters unfathomable. Well, before the death, one of the posted videos from the journalist was a video condemning Israel's bombardment, warning that Gaza would be erased if the world remained silent. The United Nations and press freedom advocates denounce Israel's actions, accusing them of systematically targeting journalists to conceal war crimes. And by the way, around the block, this is being condemned even in local town halls right here in the United States. Oh, yes, it is. In fact, here's what I'm talking about. People are starting to question as they're noticing some patterns and things that they're not too happy.
What are you doing? Facing the heat from Rhode Islanders, a U.S. senator and congressman hear loud and harsh criticism over hot-button issues. A critical crowd turned out tonight to question Senator Jack Reed and Representative Seth Magaziner. There was shouting and pointed comments.
Yeah, that joint town hall happened in Johnston. NBC 10 political reporter Brian Crandall has the outburst and the response.
You're a liar!
Putting themselves in front of constituents, in front of critics.
What are you going to do about it?
Democrats Senator Jack Reed and Congressman Seth Magaziner faced shouts and tough questions at a community session they called at Johnston High School. Many who spoke from the crowd of more than 200 ripped the congressman on Israel's war in Gaza, claiming they're not doing enough to stop the killing of civilians.
I dare you to say it. This is not a hard word. People are dying as we speak.
Magaziner said the images out of Gaza are awful and indefensible. But riled up the crowd by also pointing out he's seen indefensible images from the October 7th Hamas attack on Israel that prompted the Israeli response.
And that's where he lost the crowd. You see that? He could have had the crowd, but then he goes into the old protocol and old antics. He needs a publicist band. Well, that didn't just stop there at the locals. That has now gone viral into the international ionospheres. Yes, it has. Well, now China's speaking up in very perfect English, I might add. In this case, they're now calling for an immediate ceasefire over there in Gaza at once, admits escalating the crises over there in the international criticism of Israel that is now escalating like never before. Here's what we know now as China's urgent ceasefire demand. China's also intensified their calls for immediate Gaza ceasefire. That's right. They're not just leaving one voicemail, they're leaving two, condemning the Israeli military plans to occupy Gaza City and warning of a catastrophic humanitarian and legal consequence. Well, we've been hearing that for years. What does that mean? I mean, is George Bush, maybe he can answer. Well, now Israel's proposed military control of Gaza drew sharp criticisms now from the UN, UK, Australia, with officials warning if it violates that is the international law and undermines the two-state solution. That is quite anti-Semitic to say that little phrase there. From what I heard, familiar with the matter. Well, Gaza faces now extreme conditions like never before, famine, malnutrition, just to start, with UNICEF reporting over 320,000 children are now at risk. China pledged to collaborate globally to alleviate the crises, whatever that means. That could be military or other. Well, China's envoy engaged Arab nations to unify support for Palestinians, while Palestinian officials urge international intervention against Israel's escalation. Yeah, can you believe we're still talking about this? Between that and Ukraine, it's just a boondoggle, isn't it? Well, now several countries, France and UK included, plan to recognize the Palestinian statehood, reflecting a shifting global stance as the conflict reaches a critical juncture. Many people who are familiar with the critical juncture say. Now, in addition to that, as we said earlier, well, look at this here. Now, Australia joins the global push for the Palestinian statehood amid Gaza genocide. Yes, the land down under, they see things that we don't, and, well, their water goes this way, if you recall. Well, now, in this case, they're joining and getting into the fight and the fray, as now Australia will formally recognize the Palestinian state at the UN General Assembly in September. Get your tickets now. Joining a wholesome bunch of people, including France, Britain, and Canada, just for starters, as to reject the Israeli occupation. Now, Prime Minister Albanese condemned Gaza as a humanitarian catastrophe, citing Israel's blockade and starvation campaign, which has now killed more than 37 children from malnutrition since July. Now, Netanyahu, the prime minister over there of Israel, called Australia's move, quote, shameful. Even as Israel faces genocide accusations, the ICJ, the International Criminal Justice Court, plans a new military offensive in Gaza. There you have it. And recognition follows the Palestinian Authority pledge to exclude Hamas, demilitarize Gaza, and hold elections, but critics demand sanctions and arms embargo against Israel. Now, the United States is increasingly isolated as Western allies, including New Zealand and the UK, signal growing support for the Palestinian statehood. Yes, they do. It's quite the scene there. Continuing now as finally, speaking of that, I believe we are now getting word too that Germany will suspend the military exports going into Israel. And we heard about this before. Their airport personnel stopped moving cargo and luggage to facilitate the crimes of the Israelis. So that's happening too, as the Chancellor Friedrich Merz is now expressing deep concern. Yes, he is. Not about his country, no. About the creepy country called Israel and what they're doing. So there is that one there. Okay. And finally here in the Real Deal Health, which brings us now to something that happened over the weekend as a defunding of a very serious thing called the Miracle Jabs of Life. And Bobby's now responding to the millions and millions of Americans who are saying enough is enough. And this is what transpired over the weekend.
Hi, I'm Robert F. Kennedy Jr., your HHS secretary. Let me ask you something. Should doctors make decisions based upon what's best for their patients or based upon what makes them the most money? It's not a tough question, but we've inherited a healthcare system that constantly pushes doctors toward the latter. It rewards certain treatments not because they're better for the patient, but because someone profits. Take what happened during COVID. Hospitals were paid to report staff vaccination rates. Those numbers were fed into the National Healthcare Safety Network, then published on the CDC website to shame any hospital that refused to become an enforcer of federal vaccine mandates. Today, I'm proud to announce we've eliminated that policy by repealing a dangerous Biden-era provision in the CMS inpatient payment rule. And we're not stopping there. We're scanning every corner of the healthcare system for hidden incentives that corrupt medical judgment. What we're finding is alarming. Doctors are being paid to vaccinate, not to evaluate. They're pressured to follow the money, not the science. We've recently uncovered that more than 36,000 doctors had their Medicare reimbursements altered based upon childhood vaccination rates. That's not medicine. That's coercion. It's immoral. It has no place in a constitutional democracy or in a system that claims to protect children. Medical decisions should be made based upon one thing and one thing only, the well-being of the patient, never on a financial bonus or a government mandate. Patients deserve honest, uncorrupted advice from their doctors. Doctors deserve the freedom to use their training and to follow the science and speak the truth without fear of punishment. Doctors should be guided by medical judgment and their Hippocratic oath, not by financial incentives or government mandates. That's what this policy change is about, and it's just the beginning. Thank you very much.
Produced by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Thank you, Bobby. And it's also worth noting, too, in addition to that, which is a total win, major win, now federal agencies over there have been ordered to erase all COVID-1984 miracle jabs records in a major sweeping victory for health freedom. And, you know, it's about time. I mean, it was the most fakest thing we've ever seen. And we're now re-examining what has now taken place over the course of now 5 years, and just how fake it was. I mean, who recalls this one? Yeah, put on your mask, no? Put on me, no? Put on did it again. Put your mask on. You scoundrel. I beat you up. Put your mask on.
Bien, mesdames et messieurs, le résultat.
Just like yesterday, isn't it? Just lovely classic moments. Okay, we're going to switch gears now and get to what has happened over this weekend. I want to give some time to talk about it and really be methodical here. What we're about to get into, as this is normally something I haven't talked about in quite some time. And there's a lot of you out there who have been on this journey for quite some time at Real Deal Media. And have seen all of the different outfits of it, which seems like ages ago. But if you are new, I will start from square one here. Is we had a former castmate pass this weekend. His name is Matthew Short, and it's definitely a familiar name for many Real Deal Media fans out there across the world. And to start small here is Matt was I met Matt in 2013, and I had to think about this because I received a call yesterday. I believe it was Sunday morning. Yesterday morning, the time is just, it's been on my mind all day, and I received a call from a mutual friend of Matt and myself named Eddie, and I literally woke up and to just, there's horrible news about Matthew Short, who passed away this weekend from all we know now from a house fire. And that's all we know. I don't know where he's been. I haven't spoken to him in 3 years. I don't know where he is. I don't know what he's doing. And I'll get to why that is, but I don't know anything about Matt's world at the moment, and a lot of the people around him as well. And there's a great reason for that. But so I had received that horrible news, and this is an incredibly tragic way to go, and tragic information and news to have been shared. His family, he has 2 kids, awesome family. His mother, everything, his daughter, his son. I've spent a lot of time with Matt and himself and his family, many holidays over the course of 12 years now, off and on. But so hearing that, I have a lot of mixed emotions because Matt has been gone here for a while. As things happened, I've never had a problem with him, not one time throughout our friendship. And he got caught up in a takedown effort on me by some other nefarious people that I don't need to rehash, that are no longer here, that had a modus operandi to rid me, who's in jail now for embezzlement, and her wonderful bald husband too in jail, and for something a hell of a lot worse than that. And the other one who was whispering in Matt's ear had greater and higher ambitions than what we see here. And I think it really that interference, just like what we've been talking about, put a damper on, and God knows what they said to him, put a damper on our working relationship, and eventually and sadly our friendship. And it was really sad because it put Matt into an attack mode for now 3 years, because it just didn't stop in 2022. For the course of 3 years, I've been receiving very bad, and I'm trying to be respectful here as possible, but not so nice messages from random numbers from Matt, in a very taunting way. But still, even at that fact, because my memories of Matt were well before I asked him, we took this venture, and I asked him if he wanted to continue. And in fact, I never asked him because we were just doing so. We always gelled well together because we're so different. He's from Missouri. I'm from Orange County. You couldn't have 2 far separate contrast of two people, but we found each other somehow, some way in Austin, Texas in 2013. And the amount of stories I could tell you that we have lived through and experienced would blow your mind. It goes the most adventurous things. And that's what I'm going to remember from Matt is the incredible amounts of journeys and adventures we took. I mean, every year, he was the first. I went to 2013. I went to a JFK ceremonial thing. He was the first Texan I've ever met in my life. He was my first Texan friend. Never been in Texas before. Him and his girlfriend then at the time, Julie, and just lovely people I met through Matt, and we remained very good friends. And every year we go to South by Southwest festival over there in Austin every year, and for maybe 4 years straight, every endeavor I've ever had, whether it's been what you see here tonight or, I'm producing a game show, I would put Matt on there, getting him a little money and stuff and cash. And, or if I was doing a film pilot series, I get Matt involved and make him part of the crew. And because to see the excitement in his eyes as this, this kid out of Missouri, kind of the sticks, as he used to call it, who became a grown-up really fast. He had a child, a daughter at 18, so he had to be an adult right away, and he kind of missed out, as people do, on some of the youthful activities that people do as young adults. And later in life, he certainly, he tried to make up for that, and I think he certainly succeeded at that. But he was a wild man, and I can't even describe to you the first time I brought him to Venice Beach in LA, and I can't describe to you what he did because it was pretty wild. But that I'll remember. But for me, one of the most memorable moments of our friendship was in 2019. I had, I should say 2016, he had brought me to his family's home for Christmas, where I got to spend it with him and his dad, who not long after that passed and succumbed to cancer. So that was a very special Christmas. And so I got to meet his father. I got to karaoke with Matt and his brother then. It was tremendous because I've always kind of been alone on Christmas the past decade or so. But it was 2019, a few years later, because Matt moved back to Missouri to be with his mother after the passing of his father, and to be another a stronghold over there and keeping the fort down for his mother. And his brother lives in Chicago. But in 2019, I was there, and Matt took me on a river raft, and this is a picture of us. Not that long ago. Very red, as you can see. Yeah, he's very red. And that was my first time there. And I think I'm praying there or something. I'm doing something. But it was there at his mother's house that I received the news in real time that my grandmother had died. And I was completely devastated. And it was such a pinnacle moment for me at that time. And little did we know what was going to come in 2020, but that I'll never forget. And it was very heartwarming and stuff. And it was incredible. First time in Missouri. I've never seen it, never knew what it was all about. He tricked me so many times, pulling fast ones on me, driving really fast and winding roads down the mountain, knowing I get car sick. Told me we're going to go on a little detour in Silver Dollar City on these little trains. It gives you a tour of the city, and didn't tell me it was a roller coaster, and I threw up everywhere. I mean, this is what the guy did. He lived to torture me, whether it was in jest back then or it was in vitriol later in our relationships and stuff. But so that was very touching for me. Now, when I started doing the Real Deal Media, I had Matt on, and even my show prior to that, when I was on iHeartRadio for Truth Be Told, I would always have Matt on, because I'm the kind of guy that believes in bringing your friends with you. You bring the friends, you bring stick with the people you bring to the dance. So it was a no-brainer. And, you know, he was very, the audience was always receptive to what Matt said. I don't know if he was always on a format like this, but I always did my best to showcase him what I thought was the most quality uh, angle and way I could do it. You know, lobbying the question for him so he could just, you know, just hit it hard back, giving him the time and the respect to do it. And, you know, I don't know if he was aware of the direction I was going, but it fit. It fit. And it worked so well. Some of my best shows, I believe, during that time in 2021 for the World at War series here were when Matt came on. And then he transitioned so well into our after party series over there on Thursday nights that we used to do. And he was a star. And I can't never forget the time he I told him to dress up and do something because we were doing a dating show, an apocalyptic dating, many of you remember. And certainly Matt wanted to always be on a dating show. Little did he know that or I knew, I should say, that he was wearing a leather vest, brought a whip and everything, and just completely stole the show. And he was good in that format too. So he was just good at a lot of things around here. And I think that that's what I miss about him. And what breaks my heart is what happened to me in 2022 was a targeted situation. And I happen to believe of some agencies or private agencies that pay people to infiltrate and take down. And he sadly got used and taken advantage of by people. I mean, that were telling him things about how evil I was, this and that, and it was never true. And sadly, I never received a call from him that he knew, or we could discuss these things. You think I would, but it was so startling that he kind of ran with it in a white knight fashion, and it wrecked everything that we had, sadly. And what pisses me off is the people who did this. They know who they are. It wrecked not just our relationship, but it wrecked things for the fans who loved having and watching Matt and portrayed me as this evil character, which is totally not true. But it wrecked any chance of reconciliation. Now, in the years that followed to 2022, you know, he went on some crusades against me, which I mean, I couldn't get myself to hate my friend. You know, I mean, I was annoyed. It was a nuisance. I moved on. I kept on and carry on, but it was nuisance. And he would continue to message me, make statements and stuff. And then in April of this year, I hadn't heard from Matt in quite some time. And then I think it was March, St. Patrick's Day, he sent me a drunk text, which I still don't know. I don't know what it means. Something about FEMA camps and, you know, pot of gold and stuff, you know. So I didn't know what that meant and stuff. I just didn't want any more hassles. Now, the weird thing about what has just happened here recently is days ago, I had received what I thought was a bot message from rando on the internet, some random person on the internet over there on Facebook, and I think anything of it. And then the next day, 2 days later, I received a call from a mutual friend again after the initial call about Matt's passing, and I asked the simple question, like, if I were to get shot, and everybody here would ask, not necessarily when's the funeral, but who shot me? And so I was asking the gentleman, I said, how did this happen? If anyone who knows Matt he knows he's an outdoorsman, survivalist. You know, I mean, I submitted this guy's information to Naked and Afraid, that incredible TV show that he thought he would totally win first place on. But how does this happen? You know, I mean, he would have smelt the smoke. Was he alone? Where was he? And I was told he was with somebody named Reba, and I didn't know. And then it clicked to me, Reba. And that is the person who messaged me days prior to all this. And two paragraphs of just complete and utter smear against me and calling me a POS, all these things. I don't know. I won't say her last name or anything. Apparently that's his girlfriend. I didn't know. I've never heard about her. Don't know, but she just messaged me out of nowhere and to tell me how much I'm a horrible human being, which tells me, and this is what hurts the most, that Matt has left this earth. Matt has passed. And in that fashion, in doing so, he left thinking that I am responsible for all of his woes in life. And I'm a horrible human being that's never helped him or done anything. And that hurt me the most because it's not true. And there is outside interference that was influencing him greatly to do so, to use him as the tool against me. And it's so cruel because there's never been a mean bone in my body, or even Matt's for that fact, between us over the years. And I mean, I would go to Texas sometimes. It was during the summer. I'd stay for 3 weeks, 4 weeks, go around and see all the different people. We go to the festival. I mean, this was a habitual thing for years in our group of friends and our media friends too. And so for that to have been stolen from us and replaced with complete, utter vitriolic falsehoods as a mechanism to hurt me, take me down, take everything I work for down, that's what angers me. And what saddens me is the fact that he left this world, which we still don't know how. Nobody knows how. I mean, I wish I could just call somebody and find out, but I don't know who this person is. But it saddens me that he left this earth thinking these things about me, the last person who would ever want to hurt him or to just, send him more hurdles in life. I've only wanted to help. So, so I got that. And that was very telling to me. It's weird how it was just 2 days before all this. I don't know even what to say back other than, what can he do? Because now Matt's gone. And it's a real damn dirty shame he's gone. And it's a damn dirty shame that the people did this to break us apart, because I think about the past 3 years of doing this, that the number one guy that I did the best shows with could have been here for 3 years to witness the history change as we do and share with you every night. And that opportunity was not allowed or afforded to either one of us. So with that said, as this has really hit me hard, actually. And it's all I could think about the past 24 hours. We were very close. And we never got that job. Yeah, never got that chance to put it all together and find out who the true culprits are, because it ain't me. And I knew it wasn't him. He just fights very dirty and hard. I mean, I accept that, but it wasn't me. So I will sincerely miss Matthew Short and our incredible times together on and off screen, which were just as magic off screen as they were on. And I just want to say he'll be dearly missed, and I know by many of you out there. And so my heart goes out to the family. His son's like only about 19 years old. He's not going to have a father anymore, and his daughter's about 23. So on that note, I want to leave you with one of the rare gems that I discovered and I never aired. This is a rare, never aired segment I did with Matt at his house roughly 4 years ago now, where Matt was he was a great camper. He was a great survivalist, and which I hope we get answers immediately to what the hell happened. But he was also a great cook, and that was one of those talents of his I was always hoping to showcase and put a spotlight on, because he was a very multi-talented individual with a big heart. And I know that if we had that time or the opportunity, once again, he would forgive and forget, just like all of us. And that's kind of what us guys do. But on that note, I'm going to leave you with the following, as I want to thank you for joining World at War here tonight. I'm Dean Ryan, and this is for our fallen Matthew Short. So this one's for you, Matt. Good night, everybody. What are you making, and how long did it take you to make it, and what special sauce are you doing?
This is Missouri lobster, fresh water, and we are cooking it over some pecan charcoal, and I'm putting a garlic, fresh squeezed lemon butter sauce for it to cook on. Now, I do it a little differently. I open my mud bugs on the bottom, and that way this butter can soak in as it cooks. Takes all that fishy flavor out and makes it really good.
You said it's Missouri butter?
Missouri mud bugs.
Why do they call Missouri mud bugs?
Well, they're the largest in the, I think in the world, or they're some of the biggest in the world. And they call them mud bugs because they eat the mud.
So it's probably a different, they have that regional taste. Would you say different than the ocean and ocean lobster?
Oh, yeah. When you cook it good with a good sauce, it makes it really awesome. Falls apart in your mouth.
Anything particular in this special sauce here?
Fresh squeezed lemon, garlic, and butter.
Nice, very nice. Okay, very good.
Now we're cooking a cowboy ribeye. I've flipped the mud bugs for the first time, and now we're going to put this 1.5-inch thick steak right in the middle. It's got steak seasoning and fresh garlic, Worcestershire sauce on it. And we're going to slow cook all that together for the circle curve.
And how long is that cooked for?
You know how many of the coals that I just put out? It'll probably be 10-12 minutes on one side, 10-12 minutes on the other side. Flip the mud bugs again, give them the rest of the butter, and then the dinner's done. All right, so depending on what you want to eat, your rare's over here on this section, and then your medium's more back towards here on the ribeye. So cowboy ribeye with the bone, I just cut the bone off. Corn, rice.
I need your help this one time. This year.
I bought this ranch. There was nobody around here to build me up. It made me a better rancher. I can show you.
Got some of that Missouri mud bug. Enjoy.